Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. And today I had kind of an interesting video idea. Today I want to do kind of a rags to riches multi-tool comparison. Now, many of you, if you follow the Leatherman scene, the multi-tool scene, you will have seen this tool. This is the Gordon, I believe it's the 1801 from Harbor Freight. And this, as well as many other Chinese clones of Japanese clones of Leatherman multi-tools, have been really making a stir in the multi-tool Leatherman kind of communities. And this one in particular, I mean, you can see it is almost a carbon copy of a Wave. So it's really been making a lot of stir. People have really been some people kind of praise this, and they're like they're hoping it really helps push Leatherman back in the right direction of really pushing the envelope and kind of innovating again. Leatherman doesn't really do a whole lot of innovating. The Free series is obviously pretty cool, but Leatherman has kind of given their old school silhouettes the backseat in favor of the newer multi-tools. And then over here we have what has been my daily carry for the past year, and that is a Leatherman Arc. Now, this tool, many of you know it's based off the Free series, and the reason this is a kind of rags to riches comparison is that, oops, almost dropped it. This tool comes in at around $220. This used to be the most expensive multi-tool Leatherman sold and manufactured and was in regular production until the Obsidian version of this came out. And I believe it's in the $250, $275 range, which is ridiculous in my opinion. And then this tool, the Gordon, is a solid $40. So I think I kind of have a unique opinion on this. I'd like to think I do. I view this Gordon multi-tool as a really just fantastic way for somebody to get into carrying a multi-tool of this size and weight without committing to the price tag of a Leatherman. Because the Wave Plus, that is basically what this is based off of, is 120 bucks. And like I said, it's just a really good alternative for somebody that, one, either frequently loses tools, or somebody that just wants to get the feel in hand of what it's like to carry a Leatherman and use it every day. So this comparison is not going to be directly like an apples to apples comparison. It's going to be apples to oranges, really. These don't have the same tool sets. There's many tools that this has that this doesn't have. This has a serrated blade. This does not. They both have saws, but I just don't really use a saw a whole lot. I don't know if it's just me in general, but I don't use a saw a whole lot. This has an awl. This doesn't have an awl. They neither one have micro bit drivers. Actually, they both do have micro bit drivers, but I wouldn't be able to see to use them without my glasses. So, but today we're going to go over just some quintessential things I think a multi-tool should be able to do, and that is loosening a bolt, cutting zip ties, and I actually have two different sizes of zip ties. Cutting some hard wire. This is pretty close to a coat hanger size. And then this is really, I wouldn't recommend using a multi-tool on this, but I have cut this kind of hard wire. It's not super hard, it's just aluminum wire, but I have cut this with a multi-tool. And then we have some, and I need to trim this down, have some plastic banding that I run into almost daily as a task. I'm going to try it on the knife and on the scissors. And then something I run into quite often as well is pulling pins out of these little shackle fasteners. And these pins are pretty well set in there. They're recessed. There's not a whole lot of room to grab onto them. So we'll jump into this. I guess we'll start with the zip ties first and try out the scissors. Okay, so I have got the scissors on both of these deployed, and you can see there's a pretty big difference in scissor design here. The one on the Gordon, very similar, almost identical to the ones they use on the Wave, has the same thumb shelf, and these are actually pretty slicey scissors. They pale in comparison to something like a Surge or something like that, but very nice scissors, good for thread, good for just real tiny cords, small pieces of twine you need to cut, and these are a little heftier on the Arc. I would say they're they're like a mini surge pair of pliers. Nice thumb shelf. They're both pretty comfortable to cut with. And I will say, I don't know if I'll be able to get it to do it in this video. Cutting this larger size zip tie. The scissors over here on the Gordon have buckled on me before. So I don't know if I'll get to do that in this video. We'll just have to see. I've been able to replicate it a few times, but we'll hop in and see. So we will compare the arc first, seeing as it's the more expensive of the two. We'll start on the small zip tie. And this tool, it's a tried and tested tool for me. I've used the scissors a lot. I've used the knife a lot. Pliers I've used a lot. So let's hop in and see how it does with this. Pretty easy. It's flying through it. Now let's hop over here on the Gordon. Try it on the small zip tie. I would actually say on the Gordon, it cuts a little bit better. I don't know. I would say it's because these are newer scissors. I've used this multi-tool. This isn't fresh out of the box by any means. I've used this multi-tool for a few weeks now and put it through its paces, but they both cut well. I would say the ones on the arc are a little bit more comfy just because they have a bigger jimped thumb shelf over here on the scissors. But now let's hop into the thicker gauge zip tie here. Now these tend to be a problem for some multi-tool scissors, but we'll see how this cuts. Oh, hold on. Oh, there we go. Kind of snagged up on me on that first one, but it ended up slicing right through them. I must have caught it at a weird angle or something. Now let's hop in over here on the Gordon. Trying to cut them the exact same way, get them right there back in the back of the jaws where the most torque is going to be. Now, the way I've gotten these scissors to buckle is, I guess, kind of using the scissors improperly and getting the zip tie right up here at the very beginning of the jaws. And I'll see if I can do it. Hopefully I don't cut myself here. Let's see. Oh, man. They didn't buckle, but they are not wanting to cut through that. Let's try it again. Oh, there we go. So you can see, I'm assuming this is coming down to like a machining issue back here on the locking portion of the scissors. I'm not pushing down on this thumb lock. I have all my pressure up here on the thumb shelf of the scissors. So I'm not going to say Harbor Freight really needs to get this fixed. It's a $40 multi-tool. There's going to be some shortcomings in it. But, oh wait, hold on here. Oh, there we go. Didn't have the scissors fully folded back in. But honestly on that, I would give the win to the arc. They have the bigger scissors in the arc, just more robust, thicker scissors, and a little bit better cutting geometry. But the wave style scissors on the Gordon are nothing to slouch at. I mean, good scissors. Anybody that has these on a wave knows, or a charge. I think a charge has similar scissors. Anybody that knows, those are perfectly fine scissors. So now, let me clean this mess up a little bit, and I'm going to hop into, we'll stick on the scissors and hop into this plastic banding. Okay, we've got our little piece of plastic banding here. I run into this constantly. Normally, I would just use the knife blade if I'm in a hurry, cutting open a package or something. But if this is something you need to be pretty careful with cutting off of the package, scissors always come in handy. I just think every multi-tool should have a good pair of scissors. If not, it needs to have a serrated blade. Conveniently, the Gordon, just like the Wave, does have a serrated blade. The Arc does not. But we'll try this out on the Arc first, see how it does. And you can see, I mean, this isn't super thick banding, but something you'd want to have a good sharp pair of scissors for. So let's get it seated back all the way in the jaws here. Kind of snagged up on that. I wouldn't say it's cutting through it super easy. It's a good clean cut. But let's hop over here on the Gordon and see how it does. Maybe where these are a bit more narrow might help it out here. I'm not sure. Let's see. Maybe ever so slightly better. I don't really know. I would consider this one a tie on both of these multi-tools. The scissors, they're very similar. Like I said, the arcs, a little bit more robust. You could probably cut through some thicker things with them. They were both kind of snagging right there on the tail end of the cut when it started getting out toward the end of the jaws right here. But next, we're going to keep in the cutting section, and I'm going to hop on over to some hard and soft wire. Okay, so we have got our piece of hard wire here, and this is very similar to like a coat hanger wire. It's a little thicker, but in terms of hardness, I would say it's about the same. Pretty easy to bend, but it's just not a super robust wire. This, for a multi-tool, is about as big as I would want to cut. Well, we'll wait till we get to the pliers to kind of talk about that. So let's hop on over to the Gordon. Get this brought down nice and deep into the hard cutters, and let's just try and crimp this down and get it going. Flying through it pretty easy. Get that back down in there. I mean, it's really not having any issues. I would say more or less it's kind of, if it'll focus up here, it's more or less mashing that cut in half. It's really not going to compare with a super nice pair of wire cutters. But decent wire cutters, as long as you are not cutting hard wire for your profession, I would say these would be perfectly serviceable in a kind of an emergency situation where you don't have the tool on hand. But let's hop on over here to the arc and see how they do. Now, depending on how these do, we'll talk about these wire cutters here in a second. So get this down in the plier head the exact same way. Going to be a no-go. Let me try and do it a little, try and ride it up on that notch there in the wire cutters, if you guys can see that. No, it is not. It's getting pretty close as far as cutting it, but I'm sure you could probably take the pliers and just clip that off. Now, I'm not going to belabor the point on these wire cutters. It is universally known in the Leatherman community that these wire cutters suck. They are not good wire cutters. Leatherman redesigned the geometry on these to fit a new style of plier head, and ever since they have come out, they have been unequivocally horrible. They're just objectively bad. I don't know why Leatherman changed these. They had a rock solid pair of wire cutters from the beginning. Before making them replaceable. Now, I do think making these replaceable is a good option, but the way they've done it, not the best. And like I said, I'm not going to belabor this point. It's been talked about by millions of different people as to how bad these wire cutters are, and it's not just on the arc; it's on the style of cutters in general. So, funnily enough, I'm going to give the winner to the Gordon here. It flew right through the wire. We can go back to it. I'll show you guys again. I mean, really no issues at all. And I'm not putting an excessive amount of pressure on that. I mean, I'll do it with just 2 fingers on the pliers here. Not an excessive amount of pressure. So we'll give that win in this category to the Gordon. I don't really think I need to hop on over to the bigger gauge wire, but we'll go ahead and bring it in. I'd rather not mess up my arc, seeing as it's my daily carry, but we'll bring this in, try it out. Let me go to a cleaner edge here. Let's try it on this edge. Get it way down in those wire cutters, and this is really too big for what you would want a multi-tool to do, but let's try it. It's zapping right through it. Like you can see, it's still kind of pinching that cut in half. But, I mean, to me, there's no comparison. Now, as to the actual strength of the pliers, I do believe the arc has the more robust plier head. Now, that's to each their own. This plier head on the arc has bound up on me before, and we'll see that in the next little section here. But let's keep the pliers out. Hopefully get a more even comparison here. Let's move on over to this pin and see if we can yank this out with the arc. Now, I've done this before with this multi-tool plenty of times, so let's just get a good purchase on it. I mean, if a pair of pliers can't do that, I mean, you're in for a bad time with that particular set of pliers. So let's get that back in there the exact same way it was. Pull out the Gordon, get a similar, if not the exact same purchase on it, and pull it out. So no issues there for either of them. Just about any pair of needle nose pliers can do that. So I would hope something to the caliber of a Leatherman could handle that pretty competently. So now we're going to hop on over to, we're going to stick in the plier section here, and we're going to hop on over to loosening bolts. Alrighty, so here is the bolt. Pretty big stainless steel bolt, bronze nut. Got some washers on there. Probably, for me, and these body type of multi-tools, as big as I would go for loosening a fastener. I did bring in another pair of just pliers I had laying around to get a good purchase on this and try and get it loosened up. But we will hop on over here with the arc, get a solid purchase on this up here, and let's see how the arc performs here. Let's get a good bite on it. Not bad. I mean, they're pliers. They're not really going to have any kind of strenuous issue. Well, it's kind of cross-threaded here. Let's see. See if I can break it past that cross-thread. No. And the pliers didn't bind up. That's good. So let me tighten this back up for the... Well, hang on. Let me pause and I'll be right back. I'm going to tighten this back up for the Gordon. Okay, we have gotten this tightened back up. Let's pull out the Gordon here, the old trusty Gordon, and try and break this loose. Yeah, no issue there. They both performed just how normal pliers would perform. So, one last thing I want to try is some wire stripping. This is kind of a unique kind of wire. It almost has a double insulation on it. So it has a plastic outer sleeve and then your normal insulating material. So let me get the wire strippers out on here on both the multi-tools and we will try this out. Okay, so here's the issue I run into with the arc. Now, the weird thing about the arc with me is Leatherman said this was designed to overtake the wave and be just the tool for almost everybody. Now you look at the wire stripper here. That's a tiny, itty bitty wire stripper. I mean, this ain't happening. We go over here on the Gordon. It has the wave style wire stripper, and this is about as big of a gauge of wire as I would want to use on this type of stripper. But I mean, we'll try this. We'll try just using the awl. It's got kind of a curved section here. We'll try and get this insulation off with just the awl, and I really would be surprised if this ended up happening. And it's just not. We can try the knife blade here, see if that gives us any better result without cutting ourselves. No. So if you are somebody that does a lot of wire stripping, arc's not going to be for you. Let's hop on over here to the Gordon, and I have stripped this wire with the Gordon before. The wave style wire stripper on the Gordon is so good. A lot of people think you're supposed to just jam it in here and crimp up on it and get a good purchase and then try and do it. And I don't know how Leatherman describes on how to use it. The best way is to break it out of its lock and then push the wire down onto the body of the multi-tool and then score the insulation, run it around the wire itself, and I believe we're not quite through it yet. Let me get back where I was here. I don't strip wire for my profession. I'm not a professional stripper. So that should... No, we're not through it yet. Let me get a little bit better bite down on it. Give it some more force there. Oh. There we go. Might be all we need. If it'll come loose here, it's coming. Come on. There we go. So, I'm not a professional wire stripper. You guys know that. You just witnessed that catastrophe. But it did a pretty good job. We kind of marred up some of the wire. Somebody with more experience than me would be better suited to do that. But this is what I'm going to conclude this video with. And it's ran a little longer than I wanted it to, but it's a good comparison. I feel like somebody would be looking for this video if they're trying to buy their first multi-tool. So, comparing these two tools, and like I said, it's an apples to oranges comparison. They don't have the same tool set. They're similar, but they don't have the same. The Gordon, since it's based off the Wave, has a serrated blade, which I use quite often. They both have saws, both have diamond files. But what interests me about the Gordon and other Chinese and Japanese knockoffs of Leatherman's is what you could get from Leatherman at a similar price point. Now, this is a since discontinued tool, but this is the Leatherman Rev. And when the Rev was out and people were purchasing it and it was being produced, this was a $40 to $50 tool. The Gordon is a $40 tool, $30 to $40. So even for potentially 10 more bucks, you are getting a light to medium duty multi-tool with a very limited tool set. I mean, you've got your can opener, your wire stripper, very small crosscut file, package opener, which is really handy. And over here on the other side, this is where your drivers are. You've got your flathead / pry bar, and then your Phillips. And as well, you get outside accessible straight blade. So it's just interesting to me, and it's kind of a good food for thought discussion when you look at multi-tools right now. The multi-tool space is getting really shaken up by these Chinese and Japanese knockoffs. And like I said, a lot of people in the Leatherman community are very up in arms about this dilemma that has come up. And the way I see it is, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, this should be a very, very big wake-up call to Leatherman as to refresh your old silhouettes, give them just a nice, modern refresh to entice more people to buy them. The Wave doesn't need any help. It's the most sold and purchased. It's the best-selling multi-tool of all time. And that's for a reason. It's very user-friendly. A lot of people like the silhouette. It wears well, and it lasts forever. I can't speak to the Gordon because I only had it a few weeks. One thing I think that would be really well-served for Leatherman to do, and I've heard a lot of other people have this kind of opinion on the Arc. I like the Magna Cut blade. I'm not going to sit here and say it's my favorite blade steel because it just drives up the price of whatever tool it's in. And I think the blade could be just ever so slightly longer if they made like an Arc Plus and made the frame a little longer, maybe half an inch, quarter inch longer, and gave it a longer blade, because when the blade's down in the tool, it really doesn't have that much more room to move around. But I would love to see Leatherman bring this tool out and make it more accessible for more people. Take this Magna Cut blade and replace it with the standard 420HC they put on every tool they have made for the last decade, and make this a more approachable item for a lot of people. They say they want the Arc to be the replacement to the Wave, and in the Arc's current state, that's not going to happen. The Wave, for its price and tool set, is almost unmatched. You can compare it to a lot of Victorinox tools that are of similar price range, and they're comparable. They just have ever so slightly different tool sets. But I really just think Leatherman needs to take all these knockoff tools and copycat tools that's being made by so many overseas companies and use it as a wake-up call. Really buckle down on their engineering team and start coming out with more interesting stuff that is in the garage, the Leatherman garage, and give people a sneak peek as to kind of what they're thinking, what their plan is, what their mindset is moving into the next 10 years of business. And I just think that'd be really nice to see, because I'm a Leatherman guy. I love Leatherman. I have almost 10, and I'm still adding to the collection. So it's just interesting to me to see what Leatherman's doing and see the direction they're moving in. And I, as well as a lot of other people, think they're moving in the wrong direction. So once again, this video ran pretty long, a lot longer than I wanted it to. But hopefully my purpose for this video came out well. My idea for this video was to give somebody a comprehensive look as to how much money they need to spend on a multi-tool. Now, between these two tools, there's an infinite number of options and an infinite number of price ranges. But a lot of people are looking at this, and a lot of people are looking at this. And if this helps somebody figure out what their decision needs to be, hopefully I did my job. One more thing, for anybody that's not familiar with Leatherman, all Leatherman tools come with a 25-year warranty, and it's come in handy for a lot of other people. If you're a Leatherman insider, it's a 45-year warranty. So that's another part of the premium package that Leatherman offers. This tool, if you snap the knife blade off and something like that happens and it goes flying and you've broken half your knife blade off, you're SOL. You got to go to another Harbor Freight and find another tool, and hopefully they have one, because these things are a hot commodity because so many people like them. But yeah, I'm going to quit rambling. Hopefully you guys had a good time watching the video. Thanks for the time, and I will see you guys in the next one.